All right, how to 10 times your business to business results. So we need to start with who is your target market in the first place? Business to business, who am I going after? So for example, we had a gentleman who was on the call last month who his target market was financial advisors at brokerage firms or wirehouses who have over $150 million in assets under management. So if you've got 20 million, he doesn't want you. But I was urging him to narrow that down even more, because if I'm a financial advisor with $150 million, I probably have a small team to help me. I might have another advisor or two. I might have a couple support staff. But if I'm managing $2 billion, it's a whole different ballgame. That's a much larger company. And this gentleman who was targeting these financial advisors, his job was to get them to leave their firm and go start their own financial planning firm and use his company to help that process. So if you are moving 150 million, and let's just say your average client has $1 million, that is 150 clients to move. Maybe that's 2 advisors and 1 support staff. It's a pain in the ass to move 150 clients, but it's not monumental. If it's 2 billion, that's a whole lot more work. That advisor is probably very happy where they are. 2 billion, they're printing money. They may not have an urgent pain point at the moment. Sometimes you have to create the pain for the prospect. Sometimes they're not aware they have a problem. I saw a viral YouTube video ad yesterday, and it was for squash soap. And the ad was aimed at men, getting them to buy their soap. And in the first 30 seconds of the ad, he had to say, hey, if you're a man, you've probably never given much thought to the soap that you wash your body with. You're probably still using the same bar of soap that mom gave you when you were a kid. You're still buying the same brand. Do you want to smell like mommy's little man? Isn't it time you grew up? Right? Which is, again, it's designed to be funny. It's designed to be in your face. And it's designed to make the guy who wasn't looking for soap think, oh my God, I am still using Irish Spring that my mom had 20 years ago. Maybe I should use something else. Sometimes people are not aware they have a problem. It's our job to make them aware. So a financial advisor with 150 versus 2 billion has a different thought process. A financial advisor at Wells Fargo would be different than a financial advisor at Merrill Lynch. A financial who is 45 years old is different than if I'm 55, and is very different than if I'm 65. So let's go around the room and let's define who your target market is. So you can unmute yourself and chime in. If nobody chimes in the first 20 seconds, I will randomly pick people, but we're going to go around the room and you're going to say, hey, here's who we think our target market is. And we will all work on helping you get it fine-tuned, because the narrower you define it, the easier it is to succeed at it. I don't know about anybody else's screen, but I see Tom and Maria. Can you unmute? You just picked yourself.
Is that because we're on the top or what? Well, our target market is certainly, we're in the college planning business to start off with. And our target market is people in a certain age group, probably 45 to 55, thereabouts, who are making a lot of money, over $150,000 a year, and have probably more than $400,000 in liquid assets. So that would be our target market. And we're not quite sure how the best way to reach them, but that's who we want to go after.
Okay, I'm going to make one little caveat to your description. If I'm assuming that these people also should have kids who are
Correct.
like high school age to be prospects, because the parents aren't going back to college. You're helping them get their kids to college.
That's correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Right.
All right, so technically that's a business to consumer market. and we could certainly talk about that. The purpose of today was to be B2B. So let's make it business to business.
Got it.
Let's pretend. So if I'm going after those affluent parents of high school kids, if I'm reaching them at home, it's a business to consumer market. And in that case, I can reach them via direct mail. I can reach them via Facebook. Because, you know, those of us with high school age kids still are on Facebook. Our kids may not be on it anymore, but we're still there. I could reach them via YouTube. I could reach them via email. Now let's make it a business to business example. That would be reaching them at work. So could we make up a definition, a hypothetical example? What do mom and dad, or what did they do for work for a living?
Professional people.
They're professional people. Okay. Can we narrow that down at all?
Yeah.
Like, for example, do we want to do college planning for affluent OBGYNs or affluent chiropractors or affluent
Engineers.
dentists?
Oh, Bruce, engineers.
Yeah. Engineers. Well, you know, professional.
That's a
people-
joke.
Yeah.
In the for those of you in the financial services market, Kevin's laughing. You understand that 9 times. I met a financial advisor last week who said, "I love working with engineers," and I said, "You can have all mine. God bless you." But the majority of financial advisors, when they hear the word engineer, will frantically run the other way because they're too analytical. Like, I will tell you a super quick story. My first year in the business, like, I was at broker of the day, which means if anyone walks in, because in those days people walked in and said, "I want to invest money," or if someone calls in and says, "I don't have an advisor, I need help," the broker of the day gets that call, or they got that walk-in. And one of my first prospects came from, I volunteered for broker of the day as much as I could. It was free leads. And it was an engineer, and I didn't know any better because it was my first couple months in production. And literally, when we got to the sales appointment where we were actually presenting the solution, it happened to be a life insurance sale, because he didn't have any. And he's the only client I have ever had who had called the company separately, requested a copy of the prospectus, brought it with him, actually read it, and had it tabbed all through the whole thing and highlighted, and had 30 pages of questions. And I said, I looked at my branch manager, because back then we weren't allowed to do appointments on our own in the beginning. And I was like, I haven't read that thing. I don't know any of the answers to these. I don't think, and my branch manager was like, neither have I. I don't know. We're going to have to call home office. And literally we sat there for hours, and then he didn't buy anyway. But that's why we normally run away from engineers. So let's come up with something a little bit better than that.
Well, people who are too busy to do the planning on their own, and a lot of times, you know, you mentioned doctors, they certainly fit that in that group, and probably attorneys and CEOs of some large companies who don't, know that this stuff has to be done, but they don't have the time to do it, and they want to give it off to someone who can do it. And so it's a business to business in that regard. But to get through the gatekeepers, at a business for a doctor's office is almost impossible.
Yes. So I would, from my own experience, I have had that problem too. And we'll talk about how to get through the door to impossible to reach decision makers later on. We've got a section on that because it's a common issue. However, you also mentioned attorneys who are much easier to reach. They're not seeing patients all day. And you have, like, I used to make cold calls to attorneys when I started and leave messages, and they didn't necessarily know that I wasn't a client, so they would call me back. So or a potential client. So you could certainly absolutely go after high net worth partners in their law firms who are who have high school age kids. You are absolutely right. Awesome. All right. So next example is going to be Judy Herman. Judy, can you unmute yourself?
Yes. Thank you, Seth. I'm trying to get out of my therapist box.
Yes.
And
Okay.
I'm speaking. I got a speaking gig coming up.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it's the PRSA Counselors Academy.
Okay.
Mhm.
Your message says, help me get zoned in. So is this about the speaking workshop, or is this about you want to get something else?
Well, I think what I want to do is when I go and speak for this workshop of which I'm paying my own way to go to. I want to maximize it as best I can and then get some business from it to these professionals.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
So who is in the audience at this event? Who is the conference made up of? Who are these people? What do they do?
So they are C-suite executives and professionals. So I made a list there. They're
Yep.
senior agency
I see that.
executives, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, yeah.
So are they
So-
all in different industries?
I believe so. I'm brand new actually
Okay.
to this organization. So
What is the conference?
when is it?
No, what is it? What
It's-
are they coming to learn?
They are coming. They have some keynote speakers. It's an annual conference.
You
what?
said PRSA, right, Judy?
Yes,
That's the
PRSA.
Public Relations Society of America?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, so are these PR people who are in C-suite roles at PR firms?
I believe so. And others on this call may be a lot more familiar with this group than I am. I'm beginning to do my research. Seeing how
Seth, I
just-
think PRSA members work for, like, they would be a communications director for a company and things like that. So they're the PR person for
A company.
not necessarily for a PR firm.
Got it. Okay. So Judy, what is your wish list? What is your goal? If you could wave a magic wand and get whatever business you wanted out of this group, what is the plan? What do you want to sell them?
Well, I would like to sell them my keynote. I'd like to sell them facilitating groups, teaching them leadership skills, how to lead with love beyond messy relationships is the name of my speech, and how to just really meet the needs of workers and having a perspective that motivates workers and encourages them. Basically, I know that's kind of nebulous, probably. I don't
A little
know.
bit, but that's okay. We'll work on it. I'd love to see this. I'd love to see your slide deck and see if we could fine tune it. I'm wondering. So
I will get it ready for you, actually.
these are communication professionals at companies, and you want them to bring you into their company to work your magic.
Exactly. Yes. If I
Okay.
can sell them some, my energy, inspiration, and skill level to really hear, understand, and even, just have more power in, and then obviously helping the company by nurturing the employees.
Okay, so then in my marketing brain says, if I'm that communications professional in a company and you want me to bring you in, when I see you speak, you got to wow me, and I got to see some of the magic. You got to do some of what you would do on stage, what you would do for my company. Some of it you have to do there, so I can go, oh my God, I could see how we could benefit from that.
Yes, absolutely. Spot on.
Okay, awesome. We got time for one more before we got to move on to the next one. Dan, you were my next example. So so that's the first thing we've got to determine. We've got to determine who is our business to business. Who's our target market no matter what. And then if we're doing a business to business example, who is our target market? So in this case, Judy has which might not always be her target market. It isn't set in stone. You don't have to keep it forever, but for the purposes of, she's got a speaking engagement in front of these people. So her new target market for that event is those people, is the communications professionals at these companies. Now they're all in different companies, which makes it tricky, and they might all be in different industries. So it's the person in communications at a medical device manufacturer is going to have some different pain points and some different desires than the person in communications at a software company. However, we've got to find the things they have in common, being communication professionals or being HR people or whatever it is. They all have certain things that all drive them crazy, no matter what industry they're in. That is where you mine your gold.
Gotcha.
So who is your target market is the first part. Before we get into tactics of how am I going to reach them, we've got to figure out who they are. And then we've got to figure out what they're going to do that's different. So Dan, for example, has a coaching program for marketing agency owners, if I'm stating that correctly. Now, a coaching program is different than, for example, a software program that helps you run your agency better. There are tons of gurus in the marketing space who are serving agencies and saying, I can help you get more appointments. I can help you get more clients. I can help you close more deals. I can help you be a better marketing agency owner. Just like in financial planning, there's a million gurus on how to have a better practice, how to attract clients, et cetera, et cetera. So Dan will be our first example for what are you going to do that's different. So Dan, what is different about your coaching program that isn't addressed by all of the I'll help you make more money gurus in the marketing agency space?
All right. The critical factor is that I'm taking a holistic approach to growing their business so that they don't burn themselves out health-wise and destroy their relationships. So I have a method. I'm using a 12-week sprint method. And so everything it's almost like an Apple computer. It's a closed system and it's very antiseptic, very cold, unfriendly, but it gets them focused, clear on where they're going, measuring performance, getting things done.
Okay. So Dan has already forgotten more about his program than any of us are ever going to know. So we have to get what's in his head communicated to the marketplace. In this case, I am a marketing agency owner. So I will be his target market for the purposes of today's exercise. So I'm going to say, I don't know what that means. What he just said, I need dumbed down and translated into the end user benefit I'm going to get. I heard cold and unfriendly, which does not sound good to me. I heard closed system, which does not sound good to me. I heard sprint method, don't know what that means. I'm not trying to be a jerk to Dan. I'm saying you cannot assume that your prospect knows what you're talking about. My wife and I have this debate all the time because she is a phenomenal therapist and she will tell me something, let's say that I did wrong, and I will respond and she will say, well, isn't that common sense? And the joke in our house is I was absent the day they taught common sense in school, apparently. Because I'm like, honey, what you think is common sense for you at your level of master's degree and 20 years of experience is not common sense for me, who's read, I don't know, a handful of relationship books in my life. So Dan, we got to turn you into English. So we need to lose closed, unfriendly, closed operating system and cold and sprint into I am a marketing agency owner. I see Facebook and LinkedIn ads every day for somebody trying to sell me something to my marketing agency. What is different about yours without using Apple jargon of closed system and unfriendly, but it's white and beautiful?
Yeah, got it. Okay. Sorry, I should have realized that.
That's okay.
Anyway, okay. So essentially the way that my system is different is that there's a strategic method and a step-by-step system that people follow. It's done with guided coaching, so 100% accountability. Got your back the whole time, and I don't know if there's anything. And we're working with getting helping you to have the right mindset and taking the right steps week by week, so that you can see the evidence of your efforts and make progress.
Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. So we got from slight jargon to now we got Dan talking about the features of the program. It's 12 weeks. There's accountability. There's this, there's that, there's that. And everybody needs to be thinking about this, not just watching Dan. You need to think about who's your target market. Now we need to think about what you're going to do that's different, because I'm calling on you next, whoever you are. So Dan, you got some features in there, which is great. The thing I think you highlighted was most important was proven system. So can we turn that into a sexy title? What is the name of let's start there. What is the name of this program?
It is called the 3-month year inner circle.
Okay. So it sounds to me, and I haven't done Dan's program, full disclosure, but I am a legit prospect for it. 3-month year sounds to me like I'm going to get a year's worth of work done in 90 days. I believe there is a book that I am listening to on Audible called The 90-Day Year or something like that. So my question is, doesn't call out to me as a target market. The 3-month year inner circle. Okay, so in my mind, there's a group of people who are all going through this together and we're all going to get a year done in 3 months. But what type of people? You didn't tell me it was for agents, like digital agency owners. And you didn't, why do I want to get a year done in 3 months? Does that mean I'm going to quadruple my revenue, my productivity? Like we assume that I'm guilty of this too. I had this issue and my wife said, you can't assume that they know what you're talking about, which is totally true. And it was related to a theatrical question that my actress daughter asked me. And she said, honey, she didn't go to Syracuse for theater. She doesn't have all of your experience. She doesn't know what that term means. So 3-month year for who and for what purpose?
Well, it's for digital agency owners
Okay.
for the purposes of scaling to 7 figures.
Aha. See, now
Yeah.
now we're getting somewhere. Okay. So that could be, if we rephrase some of that, and this isn't going to be the world's best copywriting job on the spot, we would need Bruce to work on it.
The
But
7-figure solution for digital agency owners.
or he could just do it right now. So I would fine tune that with one set. I would fine tune that with the time frame because you have one like 90 days. So 90 days to a 7-figure digital agency, something like that. Now all of a sudden I know this is how long it is. This is the benefit I'm going to get. That I would sign up. Like if you said in 90 days, I can get you another, because we're over 7 of it. But I mean, if you said in 90 days, I can get you another 7 figures in revenue, I would write you a check right now. Does that make sense? Nod your head in the chat, nod your head in your Zoom box if that makes sense. Awesome. Okay, we got time for another what you do that's different example before we move on to the next one. Who is our next volunteer for what you will do that is different? Or I will randomly pick people.
I'll volunteer, Seth.
Awesome. All right, Irene, who is your target market for the purposes of today?
For the purposes of today, business owners who want to hire out their email marketing so they can spend their time doing the things that they do best.
Awesome. Okay, so we're off to a good start. I'm going to ask you nicely, gently, politely for today, can we narrow that down? Because unless you have a marketing budget the size of Nike, you cannot reach every business owner on the planet or even in the country. So is there, let's say, a specific industry that you've had great results doing email marketing for?
Coaches, course creators.
Okay, we're narrowing down. We want to narrow as much as we can.
I've had
Okay.
success with a dog trainer, but I don't really kind of want to go to other dog trainers. And then I had a sex coach who I helped sell a course. So.
All right, so we don't want to go after dog owners and we're not selling more sex. It sounded like
We
course
could get a
creators.
sexy name for a sex coach training program.
Yeah, she wasn't
Orgasmic email marketing.
the greatest person to work with, unfortunately, but it was fun.
Well, it's a good thing she wasn't your sex coach. All right, so let's go. The jokes aren't going to get any better, by the way. So let's say we're going after course creators. Awesome. That's a definable target market. I could go find 1,000 on Udemy, on Thinkific, on all of those places. So again, if you have, here's a lesson for everybody, is if you've done something at least once for one type of person or business, replicate it. Don't reinvent the wheel and create a custom new service for every single different client, right? Courtney's been doing it for years where he said, I'm going to plant my flag and go after chiropractors, right? He's not then creating a separate program for dentists and a separate program for acupuncturists and a separate program for pain meds. He's saying, I serve chiropractors. So he can go, you want to go narrow and deep as opposed to wide and shallow. So if we're going after course creators, if you've ever marketed a course before, have you ever done email marketing for a course, Irene?
Yes, I sell my own courses.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So she's her own case study. She can say, I did this for myself. I came up with this method. It worked. Now I can do it for you too. Awesome. That's what we all want, right?
Yes, I was thinking about just to kind of break in and get some quick clients, maybe offering an email, like a course launch packet, 10 emails for $3,300 and throw in as a bonus a free landing page critique at a $500 value.
Awesome. So that's your offer. And we're going to get to offers later. You're jumping ahead of me, but I love it. And that's actually pretty good. if I had a course right now, I'd talk to you. That's a good offer.
Be on here, first
Um,
dibs. I'm taking
Okay,
3 people.
so let me ask you this.
Great.
So there are obviously other email marketers for course creators on the planet. What is different about what you're doing?
There are lots. I think that my unique spin is to throw in the free critique, because I've had the issue where, people want me to write their emails, but they don't want to pay me $2,000 to do a landing page. And you can't send good emails
Yeah.
to a landing page that doesn't convert.
Yes.
So I figured if I threw in the critique for free, show them how they can improve it, and then they could either pay me to do it or not,
Yeah.
but at least fix it so that we have a successful launch, then we can see results.
Awesome. I love it. Courtney brings up a point. He says people don't want email marketing. They want the result.
Right.
Right. I don't wait for the feature of the package is you get 10 emails, right? The benefit is it's going to save you hours and hours and hours and the hundreds of thousands you've spent on your own copywriting education that they don't have the time or expertise to go do. And then the ultimate benefit is obviously it's going to have a successful launch and you're going to make money and you can quit your job and you can stay at home with kids or whatever it is.
Right. But to
So-
save them from writing them themselves,
Yes,
they get to spend time working on the things they do best, hire someone
Exactly.
to do what I do best. And
yes. So you're offering the landing page critique to help ensure their success and make sure that the email traffic has the best possibility of converting and making them money.
right.
Awesome. So does everybody get how that's where we got to say yep, Judy's nodding her head. What is different? So then that segues into question number 3, which is why should they do business with you? So for example, we could answer the question, why you should have market domination is we grow your business so you can run it. But technically Irene just said the same thing. And that was not rehearsed. We didn't have that planned. I didn't know Irene was talking today. But technically Irene's growing your business with email marketing. Courtney's growing your business. Dan's growing your business, right? So that answer is really generic. But ours, we build you 50 referral oil wells that'll promote your business or your practice every single week for a year, is very specific. It promises a tangible, direct benefit that they most likely don't see anywhere else. So why should they do business with you? I need another different volunteer. Kevin, how about you? Can you unmute for me? There he is.
I'll give it a shot. I'm actually approaching this just a little bit differently. And the business to business market isn't really geared specifically towards my ultimate end user. My avatar client tends to be a retiree, a little bit out of the business world at that point. But in the B2B, I believe my target market would be retirement planners who serve what ends up being my target end market.
Okay, and the principles that we're talking about are going to apply whether you go to the whether you're going after the retiree at home or whether you're getting to them going after a business. So are you saying in that example, your target market B2B is other financial advisors, retirement planners who see the end user client?
That would be accurate. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So that is a great so you could then develop a system where other financial advisors sent you their clients to do the legacy work that you do that they don't do.
That's right.
Perfect. Awesome. So so we've got our target market then. You've got, retirement planners, and obviously we could spend some time narrowing that down. What are you doing for those clients that is different for everybody else here who doesn't know you yet?
Well, I guess the one differentiating factor that we bring is, you mentioned dumbing it down and making it simplified for the layperson. I'm an attorney, so it's real easy for me to go into the same thing that engineers sometimes are guilty of, and our industry is known for that. But I really make what seems to be complicated areas very straightforward and simple to understand the value. We focus on the process that the default system imposes on families and the negative aspects of that, and how we can insulate that end user, the ultimate client, from financial losses, from broken relationships, and all of the hassles and frustrations of transition of wealth.
Awesome. And that segues into the third question we're on, which is why? Why should they do business with you as opposed to, let's say, a traditional estate planning? Why should financial advisors send you their business as opposed to a traditional estate planning law firm?
We're going to bring a lot more clear value to the client right up front, and serve them in a much more, I guess, warm and family direct type of approach and environment that they know that they have ancillary professionals that are serving them. So for the retirement planners that we target, we do kind of look for those that also bring that philosophy rather than just churning volume. It's more relationship-based service.
Awesome. Okay. That makes sense, which takes us to our next question, which is, where are you going to reach your target market? Where do they spend the most time? And one of my favorite questions is, where can you reach them in a vacuum where your competition is not? So for example, I have friends who are in a mastermind group that I was in who own a mattress store in Pennsylvania. And this mattress store is one of the highest grossing mattress stores in the entire country, despite the fact that it's in Pennsylvania, not like Beverly Hills. And they do not sell Sealy Posturepedic, like they're small. They sell like $5,000 mattresses and up, which I didn't know mattresses could cost them that much. And they literally have what they call a dreaming room. Like you make a reservation like a hotel, because when you pick a mattress, they have a room in their store that is literally set up, looks like an apartment, looks like a bedroom, and has walls and bathroom and everything. And you make reservations and you spend the night there testing out the mattress, deciding if you like it. And like people do this is like their date night. I mean, not that way, but I mean, just like, hey, getting away from the kids, going to spend the night at the mattress store, type of stuff. Now, the mattress store I mentioned because they are a great example of out of category advertising. Because if you looked, let's say some of you aren't old enough to remember this, but if you look in the yellow pages, a lot of their clientele is older and affluent. So they actually still might look at the actual phone book for something. And in the phone book, every mattress store is listed under the category of mattress stores, except them. They are the only mattress store that has an ad in the chiropractor section. It says, does your back hurt? You don't need a chiropractor. It might be your bed. And they also have an ad in the personal injury law firm section. And Jeff has told me the story of how they had to fight the Yellow Pages ad rep who said, you can't, then literally, like, you can't advertise there. That's not your category. And he said, in one example, he fought with them and he gave him the money and they let him do it. And another one, he literally bought a separate domain name, registered, incorporated a separate business so that he could get that listing and they would accept advertising from that business that was still advertising mattresses, but now it was legally considered like a nursing home or something. Because they also have ads in the nursing home section saying, hey, if you're remodeling, if you're getting a bathroom that you can bathtub that you can walk into, get a better bed. We are currently having good results over the last 6 months with a program we've devised where we're advertising our lead generation magnets, our free reports on Amazon, but we're advertising them on keywords that aren't related to what we do. So for example, you can see, you wouldn't be able to see it if you're not the target market, but if you bought a book on college planning and then you went to go look for poster hangers, that's an unrelated keyword search. Everything on that page would be poster hangers, except for my ad for another college planning book. I'm selling in a vacuum. So where can you reach your target market? And then the next level up is, where can you reach them where your competition isn't? So who wants to volunteer to have the where conversation?
I will.
Awesome. Heather, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Hi. So I am a speaker, but also my target market would be helping frustrated professionals who want to travel full time, but think they can't afford it, with the tools, resources, and confidence to make that happen. So looking at the Great Resignation, people that either want to quit their job and travel or want to keep their job and work remotely in other countries would be kinds of people that I would work with.
So you are kind of, let me make sure I understand. It sounds to me, if I heard it correctly, you are kind of coaching wannabe digital nomads.
So I personally distinguish, because digital nomads to me can often be kids in their 20s or 30s
True,
who are,
true.
you know, working on their whatever. This is adults who, you know, it's sort of like it could be an adult gap year. We have gap years for kids in college. We don't have them for adults, or people that want more meaning in their life and they don't find it at their desk.
I love my desk.
Right. They want, there's more and more of us doing that. I've been traveling full time for 4 years. So, and I'm 25 plus, I quit a 25 plus year corporate career. So
Congratulations.
thank you. So, yeah, so to me, a full-time traveler isn't necessarily a digital nomad, because some people want to actually travel without working at all, or they want to do non-digital work.
Fair enough.
And some of them have a full-time job that they're traveling with.
Okay, I apologize about the mistake in languaging.
Not a mistake. It's all good.
Common misconception. Okay, so if you're frustrated professionals, that's a very broad target
I know.
market. Can we narrow, for the purposes of this hypothetical exercise just today, can we narrow it down? Is there a specific industry of frustrated, like, do you want frustrated lawyers? Do you want frustrated accountants? Do you want frustrated sales professionals?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say definitely corporate, and I'm probably sure. I mean, I'm an telecommunications employee. So probably the sales, marketing, customer service employees that have just had it.
Okay, so now we're narrowing it down.
Yeah.
Here is something you all have that you want to think about that doesn't just apply to Heather. You all have natural affinity. Just by living and working in your career, you have natural affinity. So Heather said, I was a telecom employee. So if she markets to other telecom people, she gets them, right? She speaks their language. She knows what the Dilbert cubicle was like or whatever the problems are. It would be easier and more credible, and she'll make more money faster if she markets to frustrated telecom people than if she says, I'm going to go talk to lawyers, because I'm making this up. She's never been a lawyer. She doesn't speak their language, and she has no idea what they go through every day. So her marketing is going to be less effective because they're not going to raise their hand and go, ooh, that's for me. She gets me. Your desired response, my favorite response to cause, is when someone gets our marketing piece, I want them to turn around and go, do you have a webcam in my house or in my office? I've literally had people go, oh my God, that's entirely my life. Like literally down to the color of the pants that I guessed on that, but like literally down to the khaki pants I'm wearing. They're like, you totally get me.
Well, and another line that I've thought about is, because I'm also an entrepreneur, so people that have their own business that simply want to expand their geography and take that business with them.
Okay, so separate target market.
Yeah.
Telecom Dilbert Cube woman, very different from I'm an entrepreneur and now I want to be location independent. And we'd have to narrow that down too and say what type of entrepreneur, because not every business can be location independent.
Correct. Yep.
Right? If I'm a plastic surgeon, I kind of have to be there with the knife. Most of the, as far as I know. I know they got robots that do surgery now, but I think your hand's still got to be somewhere in the machine. So good example, I would say for the purposes of this, let's play with frustrated telecom cube people.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Awesome. So now we get to talk about, because we talked about where do those people hang out? Where are you going to find frustrated telecom people?
So that's the challenge, right? I mean, LinkedIn obviously to me is my hugest resource.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, facelift in a jar. That's funny. Sorry, I'm just reading something.
No, he's talking, yes, he's talking about the robot surgery. And Courtney is also making a copywriting reference to one of the most very famous marketing campaigns in our world of all time, which was for the Nancy Kwan, former Olympic ice skater, face pearl cream, and the full page ad that Gary Halbert wrote that said, it's like a facelift in a jar. If your friends don't accuse you of having a facelift, return the bottle and get your money back.
Ah, okay.
And now I've got direct messages from several women going, can I still buy that? So the messaging still works. All right, so LinkedIn, yep.
So LinkedIn, my friends in the telecom world would probably be a good avenue. I mean, I have a Facebook group for full-time travelers with over 3,000 people, but I don't know how many of them are telecom people. And so then I guess I'm going into like Facebook groups or, resources that exist for people in the telecoms industry.
Yeah, because someone else, this is the beauty of it, and it's a perfect segue to the next section, and I didn't plan it. Someone else has most likely already built your target market. You're not the only person serving telecom people.
Yeah.
Someone else has already curated a group of retirement planners. Someone else has already curated a group of digital agency owners. Someone else has created a group of course creators. The beauty is most of that info now is public and you can piggyback on it, which segues perfectly into our how to reach those people section, which again, going to apply to everybody. And first on my list, because we were starting off the conversation with business to business, is LinkedIn. So is it okay if I share with you some techniques to make your LinkedIn work a whole lot more effective that you might not be aware of? Nod your head in the chat. Yes, not in the chat, but in the camera. Awesome. Oh, Irene messaged yes. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. So first thing you want to do to build relationships with people on LinkedIn is not just connect to them, but comment. Comment on their post, their article. Click the endorse them for skills if you can legitimately say that. You want to start showing up in LinkedIn, at least in their news feed. So when they post, make a comment, like it, share it, comment on it. You do that a couple times a week, all of a sudden they'll start recognizing your name. They'll say, oh, that's that Heather who always has nice things to say. She's so supportive. In LinkedIn groups, one of the things I've seen people do that gets them kicked out is they're spammy. They join a group and then go buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. They don't say it like that, but every post they make is self-promotional and the group people will kick you out most of the time. So what works way better than that is ask questions. Hey, Heather's now in a telecom group. What's your biggest challenge in the telecom world? What drives you crazy about your job? Hey, when I was in telecom, I used to hate requisition forms for paper clips. What about you? I'm making that up. I don't know if that's true. So if Kevin's in a group of retirement planners, what are some of their biggest challenges? Well, if we don't know, we can ask and they'll tell us. Hey, what's working for you now to bring new clients in the door? Hey, how do you decide what law firm to send your clients to? Or something. You can word them better than that. But if you ask, people love to talk about themselves. They will literally answer your questions and they will give you what you need to then sell them something. Not directly, but you get it. Emails. So here's something that we found that requires a tiny bit more legwork. Every group was created by someone and every group usually has one, depending on how big the group is, they might have 5 or 10 different admins. If you are an admin or an owner of a group, you can send an email through LinkedIn to all of your group members anytime you want. And it can say whatever you want. So I have literally gone to group leaders and said, can I sponsor an email to your group? Now there are groups that are big enough that are a business by themselves and will say, sure, here's our media kit. Here's how much it costs. I had one last week that has a group of 30,000 lawyers in it. And I said, can I sponsor an email to your group? And they said, what does that mean? I said, I pay you, you send an email. And they said, oh, we've never done that before. I said, would you like some free money? And they said, well, sure. I said, how do we do that? I'm like, you cut and paste. I'll give you the language. You send a couple emails to your group. I'll give you money. They're like, oh, like a couple $100. I was like, yeah, sure. That's it. I'll take it. Because again, they're not in the business of that yet of renting their list. So they don't know that they could charge a lot more. So you don't have to join 49 different groups, but I would join a bunch of groups. And depending on how much business you want to get out of LinkedIn, you might want to create your own and start inviting people. Because then when you're connecting with new people, it's not generic, please accept my connection request. I'd like to add you to my professional group connection list on LinkedIn. Don't use the generic one, make it custom. But now it could be, hey, I'm the admin of the telecom group. Love to have you in. You'll notice a whole lot more people will accept your connection request and then ask about the group. And then because it's your group, you can email everybody whenever you want. So for example, and Kevin, it's a coincidence that you're here because I went into LinkedIn and I typed in financial advisor groups. And oh, look, here's FA Magazine with 70,000 members. Now, they're not all retirement planners, but I guarantee you almost every financial advisor, if you said, can you help me with my retirement? They're all going to say yes. They may not have a separate retirement planner designation, but they're going to say, sure. But here's the best part of LinkedIn groups, and this applies to everybody. Ooh, Financial Services Career Center, 111,000 members. Now, if I click the group, here's a neat trick. You see where it says 70,136 members? There's this neat little grayed area that says see all. If you click that, there's all 70,000 members. Now I couldn't put a list of 70,000 on one slide, but it's public. Now you'll notice none of these have the connect buttons. They have message buttons. That's because I've already connected to all these people. Every day, click, 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 click. Hey, except in this one, my message is, hey, I see that you and I are also in the Financial Advisor Magazine group together. Are you open to connecting and, sharing ideas here? Which is why I have thousands of connections from the Financial Advisor group. So if you found, and we'll do it live in just a minute. If you volunteer, we'll go find you a telecom group, or Kevin will go find you a retirement association group, and it's shooting fish in a barrel. Another trick that works really well for LinkedIn is either creating an additional job for yourself or an additional company for yourself for every project you've got. So you will see if you go to my LinkedIn profile, it looks like I have like 27 jobs. Now here's the best part. Here's why I do that. There's at least one, if not two, for every single month of the year. Because every time you create a new, don't go create 12 at once, but every time you create a new job for yourself or new work experience, LinkedIn sends a message to every connection you've got. Congratulations to Heather on her new role. And the best part is every year on that job anniversary, LinkedIn emails them all over again and says, congratulate Heather on her anniversary. So I have like at least 2 a month that go out. And the best part is most people don't do this right. So I will get 50 to 100 congrats on your anniversary. Most people, you can nod your head if this applies to you, do nothing when someone says that. Yep, I see some head nods. I message them all back. Cut and paste the same message. Hey, thanks so much for the kind wishes. And whatever the thing is, hey, have you checked out Clone Yourself software yet? Hey, have you checked out our way to get 50 referral oil wells that generate 50 weeks in a row to your financial services practice? Now, every single person doesn't reply, but we get at least 10 like appointments a month out of people going, no, I haven't checked it out. I will go check it out now. And then going, oh my God, this is so cool. It's free. LinkedIn will email the more connections you have, the better it works, because it will email them every time you create a position and then every year on your anniversary. Costs nothing. I'm going to give you some example LinkedIn campaigns to send people. These work really well on LinkedIn. You could technically do it via email as well. But let's say you were trying to reach a CMO or an HR director, or Judy wants a vice president of communications or whoever it is. What we found is don't go after that person directly. Go after the person who's a level above them. So if I'm trying to get in with the chief marketing officer to outsource some marketing to us, I will send an email or a LinkedIn message to the CEO. And I will say, hey, John, I'm trying to find out who's in charge of your marketing department over at ABC Company. Would you mind putting me towards the right person and the best way I might get in touch with them? Now, John, as the CEO, will see that and go, ooh, I can get this off my plate. Get out of my inbox. He will immediately say, yeah, that is Barb. Here's a, and then he'll send a thing to Barb saying, Barb, talk to Seth. And he thinks, haha, I got rid of that person. But what the psychology is, Barb hears, ooh, my boss just told me to talk to this guy. She thinks he knows who I am and she's supposed to do something with me. I never said that. But when your boss sends you an email to talk to someone, what do you think? I better do that. So magically, it's a heck of a lot warmer introduction, because it was a waterfall. It came down the food chain. So we're doing this right now. We have a whole program. A number of you are here or part of it for our advisors who want to get, who are working in the 401k market. So we've got, let's see who's here from that group. You know, there's another Dan that was here, and Jimmy was here. A number of folks were here from that group. And one of our messages is to the CEO of a business, of a plan that we're targeting. It says, hey, I'm trying to figure out who signs the IRS form 5500, which is the tax form on your 401k plan as a company. Now, technically, I have the IRS form 5500 and I know who signs the form, but I'm not going straight to that person, because if I go after that one, they might resist. But if the CEO says, oh, that's Jane in HR, let me connect you to Jane. What does Jane now think? Hey, this guy's asking about our form 5500. That's you. Talk to him. You could also do this with the LinkedIn groups. You could go after one of the admins and say, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of the person who's in charge of the sponsored emails to your members. Oh, that's so-and-so. Talk to them. All right. Our next one is a Goodwill campaign, where you kind of do thought leadership. So Judy, speaking gigs, this is perfect. If we have a list of other associations or conferences you want to speak for, we message them once a week and we send them an article about their industry. Hey, saw this, thought of you. Hey, do you resonate with what's in this article? Hey, is this relevant to you? So if I message you 3 weeks in a row with articles that are about what you're doing, what your industry is doing, when I send the fourth message on LinkedIn or the fourth email and say, with an actual ask like, hey, can I critique that landing page for you? Or whatever it is, I've built up some goodwill, even if they didn't read the articles, just by sending them and showing up in their inbox with value, value, value before I ask for anything. You'll find your receptivity goes way, way up. Oh, I haven't been keeping up with the chat. Sorry. Why LinkedIn groups versus Facebook? Yes, Irene is right, Dan. It does depend on your audience is. So if this is business, so Dan, if you're going after digital marketing agency owners, they have both LinkedIn and Facebook groups. But there are, as far as I know, like the financial advisor, 2 groups on LinkedIn I showed you with 70,000 and 111,000 members. There are no Facebook groups as big as that. There are lots of Facebook groups for financial advisors. Most of them have like a couple thousand. So it depends on, that's why we asked, where is your target market hanging out? If the most active digital agency owner communities are on Facebook as opposed to LinkedIn, then you spend more time on Facebook. Does that make sense? Yes, thumbs up. Awesome. Okay. This is what we call our Neuro trigger campaign, which is where you get a meeting based on your track record. So in this case, we said, hey, what would it mean to your top line revenue if you saw a 70% increase in contact rate, 50% improvement in closes, and 40% increase in quota hitting sales reps? So the point of the statistics is to get someone's attention. It's to interrupt their pattern with something specific that they would say, ooh, if you can increase my close rate 23%, in my head, I'm picturing how much more money I could make. And it cuts through the clutter. Is it possible to get the slides? We can't write fast enough. Yes. If you shoot me, Tom, Maria, shoot me an email. I'm happy to send you the slides. That anybody wants them, you can have them. And then we also use this type of thing for automated webinars, for driving people to go watch our webinar videos. So again, we're using stats. So according to Forrester, 70% of mid-level businesses are overpaying for their blankety blank. I thought you might like to hear some best practices. We're holding a 30, notice we didn't call it an automated webinar. On LinkedIn, we call it an executive briefing. We split tested it. Executive briefing worked a whole lot better. Again, your industry, your target may be different. But if you ask anybody, hey, want to watch a webinar 10 years ago, or maybe in the beginning of COVID for people who weren't in the the marketing space, ooh, sure, webinar sounds like fun. Now, people are zoomed out. They don't necessarily want to watch another webinar, but they want the benefit. That's why we're selling the benefit of, hey, you're overpaying for your health insurance or whatever it is. Here's the link to attend. Here's what we'll cover, et cetera, et cetera. Now, one message, a direct message I got was, what if I don't have a ton of connections on LinkedIn? Right? What if it's a couple hundred or less? Then we would start with what we call our Power Connector campaign, which is to grow your network. And in this case, it's not, I'd like to add you to my professional network. It's, hey, I've made it a goal to expand my network and look for ways to put some of my business colleagues together. I checked out your profile and thought we might have some synergy for referrals. Hey, you have a few minutes to grab a virtual cup of coffee. This is if you're trying to meet people. So if Dan wanted to survey digital agency owners, interview some, get some languaging he could use in his copy and his marketing, he could use a variation of this to get interviews with agency owners to find out what their struggles and challenges are. Now, you can't just send this to everybody. You should actually look at their profile. It should actually make sense why you would say it. Kevin wouldn't necessarily send this to a chiropractor. Could Kevin refer his clients to a chiropractor? Sure. Could the chiropractor refer them to a legacy planner? Sure, but it's not a natural conversation. Hey, I notice your back's a little out. Back's out. You feel better? Have you thought about what's going to happen when you die? You should talk to Kevin. That's not exactly a natural conversation. But with a life insurance agent, it certainly is. Right? He just said, let's make sure you have enough money that if you die prematurely, the kids still get to go to college, your wife doesn't get kicked out of the house, and everybody's okay. Since we're talking about the money, you should also talk about everything else, etc. This is a really advanced strategy. It's called reverse prospecting. So if, let's say, I'm going to pick on Judy again, if she wanted to get into a specific company, like if she said, I want to go speak for Nike, I'm making this up, and she knows who the VP of HR who books all the speakers is at Nike. I'm going to show you how to run ads. You can run a LinkedIn ad to everyone who works at Nike. And if I know what office Bob in HR is in, I can run ads to everybody who works at Nike in a certain zip code and then say, hey, can you send this ad to Bob Smith? Now, Bob might actually get the ad, but if I get 5 or 10 people going, hey, Bob, this ad said to send it to you, considering Bob's never had that happen before, my odds are pretty good that somehow someone's going to get him that message. And the best part of LinkedIn is you can place your ad. You can say, you're not asking anyone to click on the ad because I'm just trying to get to Bob. In this case, I would place my ad by cost per 1,000 views. And if I'm running an ad in front of a small number of people, I'm going to pay like 10, 20, a very little amount of money to get my ad in front of Bob. Irene, do you have it? You look like you have a question. But you're muted if you have a.
Yeah, I was accidentally sending them to one person instead of in the chat.
Do you recommend any good services for evergreen webinars that aren't ridiculously expensive? That's Heather's question. Judy says, can we have the recording? Yes, you can have the recording. Do we recommend any good services for evergreen webinars? Yes, but what is your definition of ridiculously expensive, Heather?
I feel like they're all like in hundreds or, $500, $1,000, something crazy.
Oh, no. Okay. So yes, we have, yes. If you send me a message, send me an email, we have services that are way less than that.
What's your email address? Sorry.
I'll put it in the chat.
Great, thanks.
Awesome. Irene, did you have a question? No, you're good. Okay. All right. Hang on. Let me type my email for Heather. Okay. All right. So let's talk about LinkedIn Mail. We're not going to talk about LinkedIn Mail as in you sending one person a message in like the LinkedIn direct message feature. I'm talking about there is a way that I'm going to show you where you can pay LinkedIn to send an email to any person, group of people, or target market you want. Here's the best part. It comes from LinkedIn. So it has 100% deliverability rate. It never goes to spam. And I could say, if I wanted to spend enough money, I could get LinkedIn to send an email to all 71,000 members of the Financial Advisor Magazine group in one shot. So I'm going to show you an example. These are some example campaigns we did for a company called VidBox. And at the time, VidBox was raising investment capital to expand their business. If you're all familiar with Redbox, the DVD kiosks, VidBox is Redbox in Mexico. So our client had the former COO of Redbox had left and said, was part of this venture to take them to Mexico as a separate company. So I'll show you how to do it, and then I'll kind of show you what some of the results are, because no one I know is doing this. It's a wide open market. So for example, if I click on this little work icon, I then get to advertise. If you don't have a LinkedIn advertising account, you can set one up in about 5 minutes. And then I think it actually costs nothing to set up. It's not even like the $5 that you would have to put into Google. I have to create an ad account. And then I have a choice as to how I want to advertise. I want sponsored in mail for this specific strategy. And I need a sender, which would be your LinkedIn account. It's going to come from your LinkedIn account. And then I get to pick a subject line. I get to pick a message. I can have an image if I want. And then of course I get a link where I'm driving people to. I can have a landing page URL, a call to action button, and I can have a banner ad a banner picture at the top of the email. And then I get to pick my target market. So I can pick by company. I can pick by the company in the industry, how big the company is. I can pick the people based on their job title, job function, job seniority. I can pick people based on where they went to college, what they studied in college, what degrees they have, what skills are on their LinkedIn profile. And I can pick gender, I can pick age, I can pick years of experience, and I can pick member groups, which means any group you want, you can pay LinkedIn to send an email to however many members of that group you want. So in this case, I said in the Buffalo Niagara region, I specified my daily budget was $25. The minimum budget is $10 a day. It will tell you the suggested bid price per email. You pay per email sent. So in this case, this group I was going after, their estimate was it was going to cost me around 50 cents per email. And I always bid a couple pennies above what the minimum is. And then you will see I sent 100 emails, 49 people opened my email. That is a 49% open rate to cold traffic. That is, for those of you not in the internet marketing space, that is ridiculously good. Like an average open rate. I have a client who emailed me this morning who has his email list of 30,000 dentists that he sends emails to every week, and they all opted in to get on his list. And his open rate is 16%. And I got 49% open rate from people who don't know me. And the reason why is because the email comes from LinkedIn. It looks like LinkedIn sent them the email, but I can make it say whatever I want. And you will notice of those 49, 4 people clicked. I have a click-through rate again on cold traffic of 8%, 8.16, which again is awesome for total strangers. So if you look at some of our VidBox emails that went out, you'll see the ones that actually got sent. The bottom 2 were the ones after we had kind of figured out how to make the system work. You will see we sent 234 emails, 84 open rate, 84 opens, which is a 35% open rate. Click-through rate at 2.3. We tested a different subject line. We got 34.7% open rate. Again, we're working on then increasing the click-through rate, the number of people who actually click through and go where we want, but getting our message in front of qualified people for, I mean, there's some groups where it's 20 cents, there's some where it's 70 cents. We haven't had anyone over $1 yet per email sent. You can test you could test for a couple $100 and get your email in front of a decent number of people. Irene said, you remember your question.
Yeah, it was about the cost, but so I saw, the cost for this, but what about just for sponsoring emails? So like I see a lot of ads in like Katie Couric's Wake Up, Good Morning, Wake Up, or Mind Body Green. Like I haven't looked into it. So what would be the
Okay, so are you talking about what would you pay as a marketer to get your message?
So if I approached a LinkedIn group, like they didn't know and they said, sure, $100, but what would it typically be? Does it depend on the list size or the group size?
Yes, list size, group size, sophistication level of the admins. Is it, hey, they started the group to market their own business and any sponsorship revenue they get is a bonus and they're not thinking about it? Or are they literally set up to make money from ad revenue? There's no hard and fast rule as to what it is. I'm going to show you right now. That's actually a good segue. In a couple sections, we're going to talk about what you can pay to sponsor emails to targeted lists. So
charge,
we're
because
getting there.
I'm thinking about starting my own LinkedIn group.
Yeah,
And I didn't even think about charging to have people advertise to it. So that's another source of revenue.
absolutely. All right. So we are going to go next into LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is not a requirement to make this work, but it will make it work better. Sales Navigator, I think is like 60, 70, $80 a month, something like that. The advantage to Sales Navigator is there are way more filters I can use to develop LinkedIn lists of who I want to go after. And I think the most important feature is I can save the list. If I'm in regular LinkedIn and I type in digital marketing agency owner, a list of people with that keyword or whatever will come up. But when I close my browser window, that list is gone. I have to redo it every single time and remember who I messaged and who I didn't. If you do it in Sales Navigator, you can save the list. It will automatically update the list for you. There's a lot more search functionality. You'll see this is the list of outside general counsel attorneys at companies who are at least 200 employees. And I've got a list of 42,000 of them. So there are I can filter by company they work at now, company they used to work at, how many people, what company type, where the headquarters is, job function, job title, seniority level, years there, years in current position, keywords in their posts, who their connections are, geography, what groups they're a member of, what school they went to. There's dozens and dozens, and each one of those has like a drop down with more sub menus of ways I can use to filter a contact list of people I want to go after. And I can then save that list and import it other places. So we have proprietary software we had built that overlays on top of LinkedIn. So I could literally take the URL of a Sales Navigator search, import it into my software and have it go message all those people. So we can build almost like a automated email autoresponder inside of LinkedIn through our software, where it knows, hey, on day 1, send them this message. On day 3, send them that message. On day 5, send them that message, and then track if they reply or not. And then let me reply and score their lead status. Are they a hot lead? Are they friendly? Are they follow up? You know, one of our awesome team members, Adrian, is here, and she runs this software like every single day, all day. And just is you on LinkedIn and messages and follows up with people that the software is nurturing. I can then, something that is really, really overlooked in business to business is direct mail. So direct mail works business to business as long as it's not boring. So there are, and we're going to talk about renting email and direct mail lists in just a second, but there are 2 types of lists. So there is a compiled list and a response list. So in this example, let's say I wanted to reach Republicans who own firearms who hunt. Not saying that's your target market, but a compiled list would be if I bought the list of registered Republicans in my area, because your voter records are for sale. And then I bought the list of everybody who had an NRA membership. I'm making this up. And then I looked at both lists and I said, Microsoft Excel, give me everybody who's on both lists. I'm on the Republican list. I'm on the hunter list. I now have a new compiled list of Republican hunters. Now a response list would be someone who actually did something. So maybe if I had a course on how to be a great Republican hunter, I could buy the list of someone who had bought that course. So now I've taken a behavior, I've spent money, and I'm a more qualified lead. So compiled is taking data, putting it together, and making an educated, likely guess. Response is then taking it one step further and saying, I bought something that signifies I belong to that group that you want to reach. Do you get the, does that make sense? Do you get the difference? Nod your head. Awesome. Okay. So one thing we've had really good success with in business to business marketing is called Lumpy Mail, which some of you are familiar with and some of you are not. So Lumpy Mail is mail that is 3-dimensional. Because I don't know if you're anything like me, you probably sort your mail over the recycling bin. And some gets tossed, some goes in the garbage, and some you actually open. So our goal, the reason why we send 3-dimensional mail that sticks out is to make it go to the top of the pile because it doesn't fit in the pile, and to increase our chances of being open. So this, for example, is a prescription bottle, an oversized prescription bottle that has a crumpled up letter inside of it. And you will say, geez, Seth, that's really unprofessional. And I will say you are absolutely right. That's why it works. Because 99%, and that's an official statistic, 99% of business to business marketing is boring. So if you send something that stands out, you will get different results. Now, you can't just send a letter. I'm not saying you should use a prescription bottle, but you can't just send a letter in a prescription bottle for no reason. It has to be congruent. So if Courtney was sending this to chiropractors, he could say he's got the prescription for their new patient acquisition woes. Or Judy could say, I've got the prescription for improving employee satisfaction, or whatever it is. It has to be relevant. One of our best performing business to business campaigns of all time, we did for ADP, the payroll company. And they wanted to get CFOs of employee companies who had 50 employees or more who were Paychex customers. That's their target market in this particular campaign they hired us for. And they said, this is who we want to get in front of. And I said, you know what, we could do LinkedIn, but I would do direct mail first. You'll get a bigger bang for your buck. And they said, we tried direct mail, it didn't work. And I said, what did you send? And they said, well, a folder with our corporate brochure in it. I said, of course it didn't work. The secretary threw it out. It never got to the person. So we created a 4-step, 4-week direct mail program that absolutely crushed it. Now, the first piece they got was a 3x5 postcard that was pink and it looked like a while you were out slip. It got thrown out. It was designed to get thrown out. We tried it without the first 2 steps. It didn't work. The second step, a week later on the same day, was a 4x6 postcard, same message. The third step was a poster. It was like 3 feet high of the while you're out slip that came in a mailing tube. The first 2 pieces got thrown out. The mailing tube actually landed on the person's desk. The last piece, which is what made the phone ring, was a giant poster. So this poster is 5 feet high. This is a giant while you're out slip. And it references that they've been trying to get a hold of this person for 3 previous weeks and haven't heard back. That gets a response, and the CFO picks up the phone and calls and goes, first he goes to his secretary and says, or his executive assistant, and says, what other messages did I miss? And the secretary says, oh, I must have thrown them out. I'm so sorry. He says, okay. And then he calls back and goes, okay, you got my attention, which is your number one goal, is to get into the right person's hands and to get their attention. Yes, that is Gary Halbert type stuff. Now, we have some other, I'm going to show you some other examples. This is what we call a shock and awe box. These are business to business marketing. This is a coach for financial advisors marketing to me as a financial advisor to join his mastermind group. So he sent me this big box. In the box, there is a flash drive. There is a letter. There are pages of testimonials. There are 3 reports. There are 2 of his books. There's some shredded money, because if I don't join, I'm throwing money away. There are some dollar bill mints. And the box is branded inside and out. Stephen, I happen to actually know Stephen. He's a very smart guy. The reason he's sending something that costs this much is because it works. I'll give you a higher end version. Kevin, this would be perfect for you going after, this was going after multi-million-dollar clients. So this is a much classier box. In the box, it's got these custom velvety foam inserts. The first one is holding the pocket folder with the stuff in it. The stuff got bent. And then under that layer, there's another layer. Open me first. Open me last. There is a DVD. There is a CD. There is a book, Smart Choices for Serious Money, and some other stuff. But notice, like all of, there's, I don't know if you can tell, there's a foam insert that holds each envelope. There's a foam insert that held the flash drive. There's one that holds a pen. It's very, very well done.
Seth, let me chime in for one quick second, because you showed off that one had a DVD in it and a CD. Do you have one of our boxes with the DVD player in it?
I do, and I have something even cooler.
Okay.
So we send aluminum flight cases, like they look like the kind you would carry the bomb codes in if you were the Secret Service. And we had a DVD player in it with a DVD. Hey, Kevin, it's Seth. Glad you could watch my video. One message, one person, because not everybody has a DVD player anymore.
And when you open the DVD player, it automatically played. They didn't have to hit play. It automatically played with that personal, so that we did a custom video for every box that we sent out.
Yeah, Scott says a marketing company sent me a slim box that when you open a screen opens a video pitch. Interesting, perfect segue, Scott. I just happen to have an example. This is a video book. It has a video player that will open up and
so far in LA and Chicago.
That's exactly where I left off.
About what they got, the value from the day, and I see some tweets happening.
Right? In his box, this is my friend Ari. He's got a book. He's got a magazine article. He's got his own magazine. He's got 2 other books, and then a sales letter to get me to take the next step. Now, my favorite video book of all time, which took to a whole nother level, is by our former client, Garrett White from Wake Up Warrior. This is his Warrior book. And if you open it, not only do I have the video, so here's his book, which is beautiful color, really well done. That's the book. This is not just a video. It is actually like a computer, like an iPad. Like it's software. Like I can pick which part I want to go to, which section of the video I want to watch, and go hit the button and skip to that part.
2007. As the rest of the world, it's not about selling.
Now, Scott says that brilliant cost. So these boxes, these sell a whole lot cheaper than these, because this is one video. It plays all the way through. That's all you get. You can get these. It costs more to get the content developed for the video that's going to sell than it does for the book itself. Like you can get these books printed 30, 40, 50 bucks, depending on how long you want the video to be. Now, Garrett sold this. You paid $1,000 to get this book, and it came with a 90-day coaching program. And at the end of the night, and he only sold 100 copies at a time, and you had to send the book back. And then they used it for the next round. Now I got to keep mine because we helped market it. And now you buy it and you keep it. But when they did the first run, they only made 100. And then they saw how well it worked and they made a lot more. And then you didn't have to send the book back anymore. This is obviously a lot more money because one, the technology is more sophisticated, and two, he's got a 100-page full color book inside of it. But he sold it for $1,000 a copy. And then at the end of the 90-day coaching program, you got pitched on a $10,000 week event. And then at the $10,000 1-week event, you got pitched a $50,000 year-long program. So the ROI is totally there. Now, you wouldn't send this to someone who doesn't know, who isn't expecting it, right? What we've done is we will get people to opt in for something. So a lot of times it's, hey, I'll give you my book for free. Just cover the cost of shipping. Give me $9.95 for shipping, and I'll send you my book. And they think they're getting like an Amazon package with a book, and then one of these boxes shows up. And so you would also do some research on who just bought your book to see if they are, or maybe ask them some questions in the order form to make sure they are worthy of you sending them our box. Here, I'll grab our box and then we'll move to the next section. 1 second. I should have gotten our box out.
While he's doing that, there's a way to pre-screen them as part of the process. It's whether it starts with a Facebook ad that drives them to an opt-in page, that whatever, you're weeding out the ones that really don't qualify for this.
Yeah, this is what our box looks like. My kids stole the DVD player out of it for a road trip. So it's not in there at the moment. Yes, the 90-day coaching program that came with the book was $1,000. So that's how you make direct mail work in high net worth or high value business to business. I mean, we've done it for financial advisors where it was direct to consumer, and they requested they paid for a copy of a book on retirement planning and then got a box. Because again, if they have $500,000, $1 million, whatever it is under management as a client, they're worth it. And it blows them away because nobody does anything like this unless you're in our world. So let's talk about where we're going to go to get that list of business owners. Let's talk about email and direct mail list rental. So the place that is, in my opinion, the best on the planet is called Nextmark. So Nextmark is nextmark.com. They are the Google of mailing lists. So you can use this business to consumer or business to business. So basically they have 60,000 mailing lists, both email and snail mail and phone. And you can search their database for free and see all the lists they have in your market. So for example, I typed in chiropractors because I knew Courtney was coming today. And now I see they have dozens and dozens of lists for rent of chiropractors. Now, if I click on one, I get what's called a rate card that tells me how much it costs. So it tells you where the list came from: highly responsive business data, professional chiropractors, owners of chiropractic offices. The list provider is exact data. It says sources consumer data from a national database with 200 million names. Okay, so this is a compiled list. It says it on the source: compiled list, internet and online, confirmed opt-in. They have 181,859 chiropractors. I can rent this list for $100 a thousand. M stands for thousand. Now, if I wanted email, of the 181,000, they have 22,000 emails. So for an extra $75 a thousand, I get the person's email address. So for $175, I get name, snail mail, email, data. If I wanted, there's a whole bunch of other selects I can add on if I want to spend more money. If I want their Facebook URL, it's an extra $250. If I want how many employees they have, I can get that for $5 a thousand. If I want, see what's included, state and zip code are included, no charge. If I wanted the list on CD-ROM, it's an extra $50. I would just download the Excel file. You wouldn't necessarily do that, but it's still available. Here's a chiropractor and osteopath list from Real Data. They have 83,000 chiropractors and 7,000 emails. Their list is 65,000 versus 100. So as you look through them, you can see, where did the list come from? What data comes included? What do I have to buy? Here's a list of chiropractors at home. So they have chiropractors' home addresses. Reach these medical professionals away from the hustle and bustle of their office. Now, I don't know if the chiropractors are so bombarded by mail at work that I need to worry about getting them at home. You could try it. I'm sure it'd be more effective. I don't know if it'd be worth it. Now, for example, if you wanted plastic surgeons at home or dentists at home, I would absolutely do the at-home list, because the dentists are with patients all day. You're never going to get them at work. We have a client that we're working on scrubbing a list, 1,000 people a day right now, trying to find which ones are the good email addresses that actually get opened. And then at the end of that task, hopefully he'll say, okay, I'll just give you a check and we can go buy the list at home. Here's a list of, I just typed in some other commercial real estate agents. They have 13,000 commercial real estate agents for $100 a thousand. Some of the lists, you have to scroll down a little bit. Some of them have minimums. Some of them will say you have to minimum mailing 5,000. So I know for $500, I can test and see what I get. And Irene, if you went, and I don't know if course creators is a select in here, but if you went and found something similar, you could see what other companies are charging for emails to their lists to kind of get an idea of what you could charge.
Or I could target realtors and do their Facebook ads.
You could. I did not know that you did that. I was on the email marketing for course creators.
I know, but I'm a copywriter. So, and I honestly, I've been doing a lot with ads and just, you know, I think I could have a lot of fun with that. But as a realtor, I never really advertised much. But
Irene, is there anything you don't do?
no, Seth, you know, I have a hard time. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a hard time focusing on one thing, but send me some business. You have a bunch of realtors. Let me write the copy. Give me a shot. Get my foot in the door.
You know, I bet you there's a course on how to focus. And that person probably needs some email marketing.
Yes, exactly. Maybe we could do some trade.
There you go. Another great way to get your message out is by being interviewed on podcasts. iTunes is a great source of research. If you find the podcast in your space, on their iTunes pages, there will usually be contact information for the show host. They
And
have,
I've got the book. Seth, you wrote the foreword.
I did, you wrote the foreword for my book. If you look at that they've already built an audience of listeners who might be your target market. You know, for Kevin, are there podcasts in the retirement planning space that financial advisors listen to? Oh, yes, I know, because I listened to some. And then video works really, really well in business to business because people don't do it. So I'm going to give you an example of our 401k video right now, just to show you that it is possible to have personality in the business to business market. So let me share computer sound. Let me hit play. Do you sign the IRS form 5500 for your company's retirement plan? Do you know your 401k score? Do you know if it is too low? Would you like to know your company's 401k score? Your 401k's low grade could subject your plan to an IRS or Department of Labor audit, fines, and even a litigation against you by your plan's participants and beneficiaries. In 2020, there were more than 90 class action lawsuits of 401k plans. In 2020, ERISA and the Department of Labor recovered over $3.1 billion in fines, penalties, and lawsuit settlements. Will you be next? You may be being overcharged and you don't even realize it, but that's an entirely different matter. Why are the IRS, DOL, and ERISA stepping up their enforcement efforts so much? Because you are not alone in your low grade. 67% of all employer-sponsored 401k plans aren't ERISA and DOL compliant. 30% of all plans do not even have the required fidelity bond. Did your 401k sales rep tell you what a fidelity bond is and that you needed one? Does your plan have a fidelity bond? Did you know you may be personally liable for the low grade? The individual who signs at Form 5500 is personally liable and cannot hide behind the corporate veil, if applicable. That means the individual signing the form could be personally fined. When was the last time you saw your 401k rep anyway? So what can you do about it? Start with finding out your current 401k score from 0 to 100, 100 being the best, and identifying any issues before the IRS or Department of Labor does. Click the button or fill out the form below to find out your 401k score. There'll be no sales pressure when we talk, I promise. That's not the way we do business here. Click the button or fill out the form now. So that's business to business. That is going after business owners about their 401k plan. And you'll notice the countdown timer at the end, when we added that, we found it dramatically increased the click-through rate of people clicking through because there's built-in urgency because the video is going to end. So we talked about LinkedIn. We talked about direct mail. We talked about podcasts. We talked about video. We talked about renting email. We're going to put you all in a breakout right now, and you're going to talk about which one of those areas needs the most work for you, and you're going to brainstorm your ideas with your partners. So give me a minute.